All right. Good morning, streaming world. Hey, I know that everyone is listening to all the noise that's all over the internet and all over every single person saying, I bid over asking, I lost, I did this, I did that. And I want to share a real life story with you about what goes on in the real estate market, not the one that all the hype is about, right? And I have to tell you that most of the time when someone says, I bid 90 grand over asking, most of the time, it's a myth because there's no way on earth your offer is going to appraise. So the smart agent on the other side says, I'm going to take the offer that's going to get to the closing table and do the best for my client. So all this hype you're hearing about way over asking, well, it was dead on arrival. It never worked anyway. So don't bother sending the noise out to the industry. But I'm going to share with you an example with one of my team members of a very recent deal that she has won. And it's not impossible to win in this environment. And I'm going to use a local town. Rockaway Township's a good one, for example. Since March 1, they are selling at about 101% of asking price. Now, I know we're all used to pricing a house and then taking the price down, and we're always bidding backwards, right? Or negotiating downward, not upward. But in this current market with all the buyers in the pool, we are bidding upwards slightly, but we're not bidding upwards 115% in most markets. Montclair might be an exception to that. And so when you look at Rockaway, a lot of these since March 1 have all sold for at their asking price, not incredibly ahead of that price. There are some brilliant examples, but I would purport that those brilliant examples were grossly underpriced, and that's why they went above the price. So when you look at this market, you have to come into it and not make the assumption that everything is grossly over asking or grossly under asking. And in the instance I'm going to share with Catherine's story, this is about a buyer that she's been working with, and it takes some time, and we're trying to save you that time and be the trusted advisors to get you where you're going quicker without all the angst and pain. This buyer took some time to get used to understanding how this market is. And you have to have the palate to participate in this market, which is the most important thing. So I want to introduce to you a team member of mine. Her name is Catherine. Catherine is going to tell us about a deal. And I'm going to ask Catherine, can you just give me the backstory with this client and the recent win?
Sure. So, hi guys, I'm Catherine. My client and we were looking at a couple different properties. We did put offers in on a couple different properties, but then we found this current property that we put an offer in on. She was originally looking for 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. We were looking in the Lake Hopatcong, Jefferson area, so the like smaller bungalow type homes. And with her family size, she needs 3 bedrooms. But with the price range she was at, we weren't at the 3-bedroom price range. We were, between low end 200,000, high end 290. So that was our price range we were shopping in. And in that range, you really can't find many 3-bedroom homes. So we found this particular one on the market, and we just put an offer in a couple days ago.
Great. And, that's a great point too. So there are certain marketplaces that are uber competitive, right? A lot of buyers. And the reason is lower interest rates have driven them into the market, and it's sometimes better than renting. And that price range that you're referring to is one that usually gets all eyes on it, because all of a sudden folks have the ability to acquire a home at a rate that they could rent for, and with down payments that are reasonable, and become homeowners. So it's a great thing, but it is a different environment than if you're in a certain price range or a luxury price range, for instance. There's a lot less competitiveness, right? So did the buyers lose some prior offers?
So we did lose an offer before, because unfortunately we just got beat out. There's nothing that you can do when somebody is coming in offering. I know that one of the offers we lost was cash, because the agent did get back to me and she did say, unfortunately, your terms are phenomenal, but I can't accept because we have a cash offer on the table, and that takes precedence. So we did lose that offer.
Yeah, and I want to point out something too. So we are in an incredibly cash-rich time in our history, right? And also with COVID, people didn't spend a whole lot of cash in the last year because they didn't have a place to go to do so. So we do have a lot of cash in the environment. I want to stick up for all the buyers agents out there that have to deliver this story to their clients. We are getting beat by cash. It's very, very hard to compete against cash in this environment. So when a buyer's agent comes back to you and says, "Hey, I got a cash offer," it's real. It's not a story. It's just unfortunately where we are right now. But what you have to do is you have to go, cool, I didn't have a shot at that one anyway, so let me move on to the next. It just wasn't the right one. When you talk about how did you manage the buyer's expectation when those deals came through? In other words, because everyone thinks that it's always the agent that's the one that's wrong, but how do you, and it's just a tough environment. So how do you manage their expectations? What did you say to them?
So for a couple of the different properties, we went to go see private showings. So I would take them to the home. I usually went 7, 8 o'clock at night because of their work schedules. But then I said, you know what, let's try something different. Let's meet at an open house and let's go through this open house together. Because when you're showing people private showings, they don't see how many people have actually seen this property. So when we would go, I would show them the business cards that are on the table of all the other agents that have been there. And when we went to open houses, I showed them, we actually waited on a line. We waited for about 15, 20 minutes to get into a property. And they were like, wow, this is super competitive. But I said, not necessarily, because you don't know if these people are going to be making offers or not. There's a lot of views on a home, but that doesn't mean that there's a lot of offers on that home. So I let them know, this may not be the home for you. I'll put an offer in, absolutely no problem. But just know, with the views on this property, this may not be the home that you win.
Yeah. And a great point. So take a counter to that, the listing agent side. I've listed a lot of houses, and I tend to not underprice. I want to get the maximum value. I don't want the whole bid up crazy thing, right? That's not my style. And I've had clients come back, and everyone has this mindset that 14 days, if you're not 14 days and you have 50 offers, then you've done something wrong. Well, in fact, there's two mentalities, right? One is price it to the market and have the market address it, or underprice it, or maybe not intentionally, which I think happens a lot. And then it hopefully will get to its maximum value. It's a risk, because if it doesn't get to its maximum value, you've left money on the table. I've had homes that the clients came back and I said to them, sit tight. I think we need another week. And then they've all met their value or gone above as well, and tough priced houses, right? So not everything is 14 days. And also keep in mind, there's a lot of motion that goes on in the background of a deal. So if an agent has accepted an offer, it may not show as being an attorney review, because in some MLSs it's not required. They may have been working a deal in the background and that deal fell apart, and then they keep showing the house. So, and that's because they're trying to represent their seller in the best way. When you crafted the winning offer, tell me about your interactions with the agent and with the offer, and how to craft it and how you kind of built it out.
So to your point that you just said, on this property, my buyer actually asked me, what's wrong with the house? Why has it been on the market so long? Because it's been on the market for more than 30 days. And it was because they did have a previous offer that had fallen through. So those days on the market added up. So I told her there's, not necessarily anything wrong with the house. And I had to explain that was the reason that there were so many days on the market for that home. But so I've actually worked with this agent before on previous properties. She's listed different properties. So I have a rapport with her, and I have a text thread with her. So when I had asked to see the property, I was like, oh, it's one of yours again. And we just kind of connected that way. And she's like, oh yeah, you're showing buyers. I said, yes, absolutely. So we connected that way already. And then I reached out to her as soon as we were done with the showing, and I asked a couple questions that we didn't know, certain things in the house that I just didn't know where they were, different things like that I wasn't familiar with the property, and she was. So she gave me all the information I needed, and she actually explained how phenomenal the neighborhood is, because the neighbors are just so amazing, and they actually came out while we were there, and it just put such a good view into my buyer's eyes, because they're like, wow, there's so many kids, there's so many nice neighbors, what a great neighborhood. So she was already communicating with me like that. And then when I got home, I gave her a call again, and I said, I'm going to be sending an offer through for the property. And she was like, great, wonderful. If there's anything you need, let me know. There was a couple documents that I did need from her that she sent me. So everything worked out on that end. With speaking with her, I spoke with her 3 times before I submitted the offer. And then when I did craft the offer, I did what I've done previously. That is, one, I did a video offer. So I write up my offer, get it signed by my client, do everything that I need to do. But before I send it through, I film a short video. It's a 1-minute video on my cell phone, just verbally explaining the offer and putting a face to the paper. So it's not just they have to read through and find everything. I verbally say exactly what we're going to do, how easy my buyers are, And then I explain our terms, and I wrote some of them down because I don't remember off the top of my head. To win in the comment section, we waived inspections. So other than structural, environmental, and safety, so that mainly covers her main things of the house. Like if something giant is wrong, then that will cover her. But she's not worried about little outlet covers or, the kitchen vent or anything like that. She's totally comfortable with. We were actually going to put, what we've done previously was we were going to put $5,000 towards any inspection items that come up. But instead of doing that, we said, we'll accept the property as is. So she's comfortable paying whatever comes up in the inspection, as long as it's not something structural or environmental or safety, which I spoke with the agent about. And she said that's perfect, that she loves that because her sellers want nothing to do with fixing anything. They don't live there. It's vacant. So she's very happy with that. Yep. We also offered money towards the seller's closing costs because it's just a nice thing to do. And it's just something that adds to help us win. We offered to schedule inspection within 24 hours, which I actually learned from one of our team members. So that's where I'm putting in almost every deal now, because there's no reason that you can't schedule it within 24 hours of completion of attorney review. Let me say that. So once we're done with the attorney review, within 24 hours, we schedule the inspection.
Yep.
And that's it. That's what we did, and we won it.
So if you've made it this far into the video, a couple of things that you could take away if you're on the buy side, and these are tips and tricks, right? So you learn, first of all, and I put it in the comments for the Facebook feed as well, this is an environment where waiving inspections, except for structural, environmental, and life safety, are super common, almost a guarantee. Don't even think about putting in an offer without it, right? I'm not saying to waive all items. I'm saying to waive everything but the big ones. Appraisal waivers is pretty common, but up to an amount. So I would not suggest to anyone, any of my clients, to do a full appraisal waiver on anything. It's craziness. It's not a good, if you want the house, you can do it. It's not my call, but I am not going to advise clients to do so. I can advise doing it up to a certain point, because if a house is grossly underpriced, it's a good bet, right? Because you know it's going to appraise if you've done your numbers right. And then you can say, I'll go up to this amount because it's a great bet. The other thing that you mentioned was this 24-hour inspections. So people tend to drag their feet on inspections. Sometimes it's a strategy, sometimes it's not. If someone's dragging their feet on a listing that I have, that's not protecting my buyer, because it's more days on market. More days on market means someone's going to come back and try to negotiate the price down later if this deal falls apart. So by doing that, you're saying we're going to move quickly. Super important to do. And then another great tip is to put in some money for items, especially FHA and VA buyers. If you are an FHA or VA buyer, you need some to protect the seller. And I know it sounds crazy, but you're not going to win deals unless you do. The seller's concerns are going to be, what items are they going to find on the appraisal that I have to repair in order for them to get the loan funded? You are a risk to them. There is no doubt about it. The winning offers take the most risk off the table. So you need to figure out if you can afford to put out some some repair item credits, or cover them up to a certain number so that you can get the home. Remember, cracked windows, leaky roofs, chipped paint, all FHA and VA items. You could get to the point of the appraisal and the deal falls apart. And now you've spent $1,000 that you saved up for a very long time because you weren't advised properly. So my suggestion for everyone is, crafting deals is super important. The last piece and the best piece ever on a deal is telling the client that they won, because we tell a lot of clients right nowadays that they don't, because they haven't crafted or gotten their mindset to where they need to go. We're here to guide you. We're not here to give your money away. Our job is one of two things in buying and selling. On the selling side, we're supposed to get you more than we asked for. On the buying side, we're supposed to get you less, right? Or at least near where they're asking, depending if the house is priced appropriately. We want that for you. But we also want you to not have a frustrating experience. And unfortunately, if you're not ready to participate in the marketplace as it is today, which is at or above asking in a lot of places, inspection waivers, and lastly, it's a market where sellers have the push, right? They can push you around a bit. It is the marketplace we're in. You have levers. You don't have to roll over and play dead. But if you know what you're working with, then you craft the message to win the deal and get the home that you want, get the memories that you want, things like that. So Catherine, last question is, how did your buyer take it when you told him you won?
So our offer was actually under asking, and when they came back and they countered with us, but we countered again and we still got the property for under asking. So I let my buyer know that she still got it and under asking, and she's super excited. She's very ecstatic. We're ready to go, and now it's on the lender to make sure that they can make it happen snappy, and we have great lenders, so I'm sure that it'll happen fast.
Very cool. So my last comment before we close down the live stream is all real estate transactions are negotiable. All homes are as is. So if you see as is, make sure you understand what as is means, right? As is can mean that the seller will do no repairs, which means you can't ask for anything. Or as attorneys would say, all homes are sold in the condition they are, which is as is, right? When you go into a deal, everything is negotiable. My only comment is stick with what's called the spirit of the deal. If you put a deal on paper and you promise something, stick with the spirit of the deal, and it always seems to go right. Karma's there and it'll work, but stick with the spirit of the deal. If you say you're not going to nickel and dime, and then you come back with $18,000 nickel and diming, you deserve to lose the house because you didn't stick with the deal that you promised. And there's nothing that your agent can do to fix that for you. So if you have any questions, put them in the feed. Happy to help. Catherine, thanks so much for sharing the story. We are winning. The people are winning in this environment. Don't listen to the hype. Don't listen to the noise. Use the Rockaway Township example. Very few houses were over asking by any reasonable margin, folks. And that's since March 1. If I go back further, I'm sure it's even better. So don't believe the hype and get educated. Happy to help in the feed. Hit some questions. Thanks, everyone.